Standing in the aisle of this moving bus, the operative is running a high-stakes psychological operation. The setup was a theater of manufactured conflict. He planted an associate deep in the seats, disguised as a traditional Islamic cleric. Then, taking his cue, the operative stood up and began loudly praying as a Christian priest, waiting for his own fake cleric to stand up and hurl abuse at him. The bus driver, completely in on the con, would aggressively swerve the vehicle, throwing terrified passengers from their seats. When the dust settled, the crew pointed out that the screaming cleric offered no help, while the priest prayed for their safety. This public humiliation was designed to make ordinary passengers lose faith in their religious leaders. The architect of this deception was Muhammad Abdullah. Born to Muslim parents in Karachi, he was left vulnerable by his family's circumstances, making him a prime target for those looking to shape a young mind. Local missionary networks recognized this vulnerability. They took him in, offered him a community, and systematically groomed him to serve their global agenda. This local grooming eventually scaled up into a massive international investment. He was sent to Australia, Germany, Holland, and Singapore for elite training, preparing him for high-level leadership in psychological warfare. By the time he returned home, he commanded a secularization program backed by vast international resources, ready to dismantle the faith of his own people from the inside. His operation was extensive. His wife ran a network of NGOs across major cities, using vocational training and social work as a front to draw in financially struggling students and strip away their religious identity. But he eventually grew ambitious, shifting his focus away from the poor. He began hunting highly educated, steadfast believers, spending an entire year applying psychological pressure on a single cloth merchant. After a year of receiving carefully selected critical literature, the merchant pushed back. He handed Abdullah a copy of the Quran and laid down a challenge: find a single, undeniable contradiction in its pages, and he would convert. Abdullah saw this as the ultimate opportunity. Breaking a target of this intellectual caliber would be a massive strategic victory for his mission. He began an aggressive audit of the text. For days, he obsessively combed through 25 chapters, hunting for any logical flaw he could weaponize. Every time he formulated a sharp objection, he would turn a few pages and find the exact counterargument waiting for him. The investigation reached a turning point during a morning reading session. He opened the book to a specific passage, Surah al-Baqarah, Ayat 109. The text stated that a large portion of the people of the book wished to turn believers back into disbelievers purely out of the envy in their own hearts. He closed the book in shock. He opened it again. The words were identical. This was a surgical description of his own highly classified modern-day mission. He looked at the page and realized the book was describing his own movements. He was no longer the one conducting the interrogation. Convinced his cover was blown, he assumed local Muslims had discovered his network and forged an altered copy of the book to expose him. He immediately contacted his international superiors. They launched a 2-month global investigation, sending experts to museums and libraries to cross-reference modern copies against the oldest known manuscripts. This image shows the evidence his team analyzed, pulling ancient records to scrutinize the original Arabic calligraphy. When the final report came back, the results were definitive. Between the modern book and ancient relics, they found 0 discrepancies. The lack of even a single altered character over 14 centuries left him with nowhere to hide. His own investigation had confirmed the book's authenticity, and his intellectual honesty wouldn't let him ignore it. When he shared these results with his wife, she accepted the truth instantly. The failed investigation was enough to convince her they were on the wrong side of history. She called their children into the room, and right there, they recited the declaration of faith. But Abdullah hesitated. Accepting this truth meant losing his international empire, his luxury properties, and his network of NGOs. He tried to pack up their assets to take with them, but his wife stopped him. She looked at their vast wealth and called it the earnings of deception, refusing to touch money earned by fighting the truth. He had to choose between his global network and the truth he had just proven. For the first time, the cost of his mission was being paid in his own currency. That same day, they walked onto the street. They left behind a lifetime of accumulated power. Stepping out completely destitute, but intellectually liberated. In his new faith, he found a reverence for Jesus he had never known, one free from the contradictions he had found in his former study. By becoming a Muslim, he felt he finally honored the person he once claimed to serve. The man who had dedicated his life and a global fortune to dismantling a faith sacrificed everything to become its most devoted advocate.